My name is Thea. I'm 34, and last Thanksgiving, my father stood at the head of the table, raised his glass, and told everyone I was the only person there who didn't know how to be an adult. 14 people sat around that table, and in a single moment, 14 pairs of eyes turned toward me. No one spoke. No one interrupted him. It was just me, sitting there, being quietly measured against a standard I had never agreed to, but had always been judged by. I didn't argue. I didn't leave. I didn't even look upset. I took a bite of turkey, chewed slowly, and let the moment stretch just long enough to make everyone uncomfortable. Then I asked one simple question. Craig's fork slipped from his hand and hit the plate with a sharp metallic sound that echoed across the table. For 6 full seconds, no one said anything, and in that silence, everything my father believed about his perfect daughter began to fall apart. What none of them knew was that I had been carrying the truth in my purse for 3 weeks, waiting for the exact moment when it would matter most. 3 weeks earlier, in October, my life looked simple on the surface. I lived in a second-floor apartment with a west-facing window that filled the space with warm, golden light every afternoon around 4:30. It wasn't impressive. The carpet was old, the walls were plain, and my father had never once visited. But it was mine. My cat, Copper, would sit on the windowsill every day, watching the parking lot like it was a world of its own. I worked at a title company, spending my days reading property records, deeds, liens, mortgages, the quiet details that most people ignored. It wasn't glamorous, but it required precision, and I was good at it. I liked the certainty of it. Paper didn't lie, numbers didn't pretend. They just existed, waiting for someone to notice what they meant. My father, Gerald, didn't see things that way. To him, success was simple. You owned a house, you paid off your mortgage, and you proved yourself. Anything less was failure. And in his mind, I was the example of that failure. My sister Marlene, on the other hand, was everything he admired. She had the house, the husband, the kids, the polished life that looked perfect from the outside. Every Sunday we sat at her table, and every Sunday my father found a way to remind everyone, especially me, that she had figured it out and I hadn't. He never said it directly, but he didn't need to. It was in the way he praised her, the way he compared, the way he paused just long enough for the message to land. About a year before that Thanksgiving, my father gave Marlene $80,000 from our grandmother's trust. Money that was supposed to be divided equally between us. He told me she had earned it, that she had paid off her house, that she deserved the final piece. I remember standing in my kitchen when he said it, holding my coffee, feeling something about it didn't sit right. But I didn't argue. I didn't have proof. And I've learnt that without proof, people don't hear truth. They hear accusations. Everything changed one Tuesday afternoon at work. I was reviewing a batch of routine filings when I saw Marlene and Craig's names on a document. It was a deed of trust, a refinance, $340,000. I read it once, then again, then a third time, hoping I had misunderstood. But the date was clear. August, 3 months after she had supposedly paid off her house. That night, I sat in my apartment in complete silence, replaying the numbers in my head. You don't refinance a house you've paid off. And you definitely don't refinance it for more than it was worth, unless something is very wrong. 2 days later, I checked the public records myself. Everything was there, clean and official. It wasn't a simple refinance either. It was a cash-out refinance, which meant they had taken money out of the house, borrowed against it, a large amount. That was when the truth became unavoidable. The $80,000 my father gave her had never gone to the mortgage. Not even close. It had gone somewhere else entirely. And then, on top of that, they had taken on even more debt. I sat in my car that day, staring at the screen, feeling something inside me shift. Not anger. Not yet. just clarity. My sister hadn't earned anything. She had lied, and my father had built her entire image on that lie. From that moment, I stopped reacting emotionally and started thinking strategically. I printed the documents, folded them neatly, placed them in a plain white envelope, and put it in my purse. I didn't confront anyone. I didn't warn anyone. I waited. As Thanksgiving approached, the tension grew quietly. My father called, not to invite me, but to instruct me. He told me to behave, to be respectful, to act like I belonged. My sister called, too, assigning me a salad, the simplest, safest dish, the kind given to someone who isn't trusted with anything important. And before hanging up, she told me not to make things awkward. That phrase stayed with me, because what she really meant was, don't say anything. On Thanksgiving morning, I stood in my kitchen, staring at that envelope. I picked it up, put it down, then picked it up again. I knew that bringing it meant crossing a line I couldn't uncross. It meant exposing not just a lie, but the entire structure my family had built around it. In the end, I slipped it into my purse and left. Marlene's house looked perfect, just like always. The table was set beautifully, the food smelled incredible, and the room was filled with warmth and laughter. For a moment, it almost felt normal. We sat down, passed dishes, made small talk. I almost convinced myself I would say nothing, that I would just get through the evening quietly. Then my father stood up. He tapped his glass, and the room fell silent. He started speaking about family, about pride, about success. Then he turned to Marlene and praised her, calling her the example of what it meant to build a life. And then he looked directly at me and said that not everyone at the table could say the same. That was the moment. The line had been drawn. I didn't react emotionally. I didn't defend myself. I took a bite of turkey, chewed slowly, and set my fork down. Then I turned to Craig and calmly asked him to pass the turkey. As he reached for it, I asked my question, quietly, evenly, about the $340,000 refinance. The reaction was immediate. The fork dropped. The room went silent. My sister tried to deflect, my father demanded answers, and Craig, after a long, painful pause, admitted the truth. The money had gone to a failing business. The mortgage had never been paid off. Everything my father believed had been built on a lie. The aftermath was quiet, almost surreal. No shouting, no dramatic exit, just a slow unraveling of everything that had been carefully constructed over time. I didn't need to raise my voice or wave the documents. The truth spoke for itself. And once it was out, it couldn't be put back. I left that night with Nolan, stepping out into the cold air, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not victory, not satisfaction, just relief. Like I had finally stopped carrying something heavy that I didn't even realize had been weighing me down. The next day, things began to change. My grandmother stepped in, correcting what had been done with the trust. My father, for the first time, didn't have a response ready, and my sister stayed silent. In the weeks that followed, there were no dramatic reconciliations, just distance, adjustment, reality settling in. Some relationships shifted, some didn't recover, but something important had changed for me. I stopped trying to earn a place at a table that was never set for me fairly. Because in the end, I realized something simple. Belonging isn't about being chosen. It's about choosing where you're willing to sit. And that Thanksgiving, I finally chose.